Culture is both the summation and the expression of experiences, beliefs, traditions, or practices passed down from one generation to another. Culture and food are also interconnected, which makes food a very important aspect for global and cross-cultural understanding. Now, while cooking techniques in Africa are changing, my next guest is accelerating that change by using or implementing modern kitchen techniques and appliances to cooking traditional meals, which in turn cuts down the preparation time. Hello, everyone. My name is Kimberly, and you are welcome to PBB. Our guest for today is Tiffany Lynn Tebit, a middle child of three who was born and raised in Washington State, USA. She is a wife, mom, and homemaker married to Cameroonian Stanislaus Tebit. The couple met on an online dating site and married 9 months later, and together their marriage has been blessed with three beautiful children. In 2018, Tiffany started a food and lifestyle channel where she demonstrates how to cook Cameroonian food like a daughter of the soil. One specific video which immediately went viral within the Cameroonian community is the video in which Tiffany cooked achu. Now, achu is a very popular traditional meal from the northwest region of Cameroon, made with pounded cocoyam and eaten with yellow or black soup. But there is a surprising revelation about Tiffany's first viral video. You're welcome to PBB, and I'm so glad that you accepted to come and have this conversation with me today. You have a wonderful family, which I admire a lot. So I'm very interested in knowing how you met your spouse.
My husband's name is Stanislaus.
Yeah.
And Stanislaus and I met actually on christianmingle.com online. And I was living in Washington State and he was living in California, actually. So he went on Christian Mingle, I went on Christian Mingle, and we ended up being matched because they match people on personalities or different things that maybe have interests. So he actually sent me a private message, but I was not a paying customer. I was just doing it as a trial run to see how it went before I decided if I want to pay or not. So because I was just trying this online dating thing out. So it was new to me because I'd never done it before. So I was like, okay. So I kept going back and forth because you can read their profile. So I kept going to his profile, looking at his pictures, the description of what he wrote about himself. And I was like, oh, he's interesting. I like what he's writing and his pictures were good looking. I thought he was a good looking guy. Okay. So I was like, okay, I'm going to keep going to keep check. So I kept looking and I was like, oh, I don't know. So I was talking with my sister about it. And I said, I don't know, should I just start paying so I can see what he's writing? And then she was like, yeah, just go for it. What else do you have to lose or whatever? So I joined the lowest account, I guess. So then I could read his message. And then, yeah, the message, I liked what he wrote to me because he was just pretty much saying that he liked my profile about me, would like to get to know me more or whatever, something like that. And then, yeah, we started communicating back and forth after I was able to start reading messages. And then, yeah, we did that off and on for a while through messaging. And then we started doing phone calls. And then from phone calls, we did video chats. And then after, what was it, like maybe 4 months into doing that, we ended up saying we wanted to meet in person or whatever. So okay. He was in California and of course I was in Washington State. So he thought, which obviously I think that was the right thing to do, he thought it'd be better for him to probably come and meet me where I live first. And so he flew from California to Washington State. And see, I was also living in my parents' home still. So he came and he visited my family's home. So he got to meet my mom, my dad, and me, of course, and my sister and my brother. My sister and my brother, they got married before me, even though my sister is younger than me. And so they met Stans and yeah, it went really well. So it was, I think, a little, maybe a little unusual or interesting because we met online, and then now you're seeing this person in person, of course, for the first time in your home or whatever.
Exactly. So
But
you said your family was very receptive to him and to the whole idea of online dating and dating somebody from another continent.
oh yeah, they were fine with it. They know and trust me that I probably have good intuition of what I'm getting into. So they trusted, and I also had kind of shared with my sister a little bit of like some of the messages we were talking about, not everything, but just a little bit here and there. So she kind of could read about maybe what he was thinking or who he was, I guess, through the messages or whatever. So I kind of shared that a little bit with my sister. And then they were very receptive of him. They were happy, excited that I had met someone that I had some interest in. And of course, my mom, I guess, when she first met him, when he came through the door to my house, she said, "Can I give you a big hug?" And he was like, "Oh, yes, for sure." So of
Oh,
course,
how cute.
and my husband is a huge hugger. He's like a big teddy bear. Like everyone, even at our church around here or wherever, they know that he's definitely going to give a hug to everybody.
Yeah. Oh, it's so
So,
unfortunate with COVID right now. You can't give hugs to anybody.
yes, I
I
know.
can imagine how he feels because I'm much of a hugger and I miss hugging people.
So,
And for how long did that go on before you got married?
well, he came to visit me, and then I actually came there to visit him in California. And that was actually, I came to visit after Christmas of that year, and that was 2011 that that he came to visit me, and then I came there to visit there. And I visited for like a week or so. No, I'm sorry, not a week. It was like a long weekend or whatever. And then we did that back and forth a little bit. And he came back to visit me again another time. And then he proposed to me while we were there that time, the second time he came to visit.
Okay.
But within that time of going back and forth, I think that was probably a total of like 4 months, like another 4 or 5 months of doing that or whatever.
So it
And
means
then,
you guys got married 8 months after meeting?
yeah, probably about 8 to 9 months after meeting.
Oh, wow.
So we got married.
So he too knew intuitively that you were the one and he wasn't taking any chances.
Yep. And he proposed to me actually in my local mall.
Wow.
So he got on his
How
knee
romantic.
in the middle of the mall in
Oh
front
my,
of people doing their shopping and stuff. And
oh my God. Embarrassed.
yeah, well, people that know me, I'm a person that doesn't like to be a center of attention.
Mhm.
I'm a very quiet kind of person. So that was kind of like, oh my goodness, what's happening here? Because of course people stop and want to know what's happening. So they're all staring at me and I'm like, oh Lord, oh Lord.
On the Cameroon side, how receptive were they of the whole idea of you both?
They were pretty receptive. I think the only concern that they somewhat had was, about divorce, because I think the stereotype thinking is all white people or the Western world, they divorce if whatever, some small little issue comes up or whatever. So I think that was the main thing, is they were concerned about maybe some sort of divorce or something. But then they found peace in me, of course, once they got to know me. And also, one of the things that I guess they found peace in is because my mother and father, before she died in 2019, they were married 54 years.
Oh, wow. So they knew you had values.
Oh, yeah. So they knew that I came from a family that my parents had been married for that long. And I come from a really strong Christian family. So I had strong values, morals, beliefs of everything. So I think they grew to know that, okay, this is going to be a good woman or whatever. So
Cameroon is a Central African country, also referred to as Africa in miniature, because it exhibits all the major climates and vegetation of the continent: mountains, deserts, rainforests, savanna, grasslands, and ocean coastlands. The country is blessed with an abundance of wildlife, natural resources, beautiful people, wonderful cultures, and food variety. The Cameroonian or African culture in general is one of community, shared spaces, and brotherhood. Tiffany describes the struggle she had with adjusting to her new Cameroonian way of life. What are some of the kind of adjustments you both have had to make? Because I know he's lived in the US, so he's kind of like picked up the culture over there and the lifestyle in America. But what are some of the kind of adjustments you've had to make as a family? Because you married 9 months after meeting. What are some of the kind of things you've had to adjust to?
In the beginning, let's say I say in the beginning of our marriage, it was a good beginning, but he had told me in the beginning. Now, in our culture, let's say he has a family member that comes from Cameroon to America and they're just coming for the first time. I will probably have to help them and support them, and they may have to come live in our house or whatever. And he said, "Are you going to be okay with that?" And I said, "Yes," because I'm all for helping family and being like there for each other. So I said, "Yes, that's fine." So actually, in the beginning of our marriage, we were newlyweds, and before I actually moved to California after getting married, he already in his apartment in California. It was a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom apartment. He had himself, his sister who just came from Cameroon, and his cousin that was living in Maryland but moved to California that wanted to change or whatever. So in that 1 bedroom apartment, there was already 3 of them.
Yeah.
But now he just got married to me, and I was moving from Washington State to California to be with him as a new married couple. So we move into this 1 bedroom apartment, having them 3 and now me added. So
it's 4 people.
So now it was 4 people in 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom apartment. So
wow.
It was a change in the beginning, but I got used to it. And actually I enjoyed them being there at times because he would go to work and I'd be there alone.
Yeah.
So I had some companions of people to talk to and friends or like family members to get to know or whatever. So I enjoyed that actually a lot. And then I guess another example later on in the marriage, see, Grace, our oldest daughter, is a honeymoon baby. So I gave birth to her in 2013. We got married in 2012. So we were living in California and like taking care of the baby, breastfeeding or whatever. I'm kind of a quiet, private person. I like to keep myself covered. But we had some Cameroon friends that lived not that far from us there in California in our apartment. And they would just come over anytime they felt like it. So they would come to the door, and a few of them, they would just walk in. They wouldn't knock or anything. And I'm sitting there on the couch trying to breastfeed. I was like, oh my goodness, what, hello. So that was a little shocking for a while, was to get used to them feeling comfortable that they could just walk in and then without even like saying hello or knocking or whatever, anything like that. So that was a little hard. I mean, it wasn't super hard, but took a while to get used to them doing that. But then we actually had to have a conversation with them. Please, before you come in, at least knock, or for us to answer back before you just come in. So something like that. Yeah. And then I guess another small little story would be, since I wasn't used to African food yet, I only knew Western food, and I was pregnant and I was at the apartment alone most of the time because my husband was at work. Sometimes those friends, they would come over, and they go straight to our refrigerator and see what kind of food we would have. So they would eat my Western food without even asking, or sometimes they would just grab things. And I was kind of like in my thing, like, oh boy, should I say something? Should I not say something? Should I say something? Because see, we only had one car. So it's not like I could drive out and get some new food for myself. And I wasn't used to the African food yet. So we had bought food just for myself mostly before. Of course, I eventually got used to the African food. So they were coming and eating it. And I was like, oh Lord, what am I going to have to eat? I don't know. And I'm pregnant with my first child. So of course I like to eat or snack things or whatever. So that was a little bit of a challenge until I actually had to say something. I was like, oh, I don't want to be rude, but I'm going to not have food here. So I had to be politely. And I kind of just said, I'm really sorry. Can you please like ask if you can eat, like say that apple or whatever the food was before you just start grabbing it, because that's pretty much all I'm eating right now or whatever. So that was kind of like an example of how I had to get used to some of the culture or whatever. So
Right. And what do you have to say about that? If you were to advise, what would you say to the community who, because that's what the people do. We consider everybody as family, and we will just walk in or without come to your house without calling. It's a cultural thing. So what would you say?
he would always do that to the friend's house. So they were probably thinking, oh, okay, so if the husband, I mean, if your husband or whatever always comes to our house and just helps himself, then maybe they felt that they could do that all the time too. But of course, in the beginning, it was difficult or challenging for me because I wasn't used to, I guess, them just feeling free to come in whenever they felt like it and eating whatever the food. So until I got used to the culture and I was a little more understanding of some of the things. Now, when, let's say, for example, I'm telling them and they want to come to visit Western families, of course, I would probably say try to tone that down just a little bit. I mean, I don't want you to change who you are, but in the Western culture here, normally you either will call and say, oh, hi, how are you doing today? Are you available for us to come visit? Or just that kind of like communication before you just start coming over. So I would just tell them that try to remember that maybe just try to call or like contact them before just coming or whatever. So then you don't maybe feel like, because I don't want them to be embarrassed too. Like you come there and then they're going to be like, oh my goodness, I wasn't prepared for guests or anything. So that kind of thing. So I guess I would just kind of tell them to try to tame that down a little bit and maybe not come right away.
Right.
Of course, within our own African culture, if you want to just come, I'm sure they're going to say, okay, yes, just come, or you just come to the door.
Yeah.
Like now that my husband and I have been married 9 years, well, actually it will almost be 9 years, the end of this August.
Okay.
Now that if any of our Cameroon friends just come, I'm okay with it because I'm used to it and they all know me and I know them.
Yeah.
But usually if someone comes from somewhere else, and they'll usually call us ahead of time.
So there's this other aspect, with regards to birthing. Like when you have your baby, your mother-in-law or your mom comes over, to come and look after the baby for like a month or up to 3 months, that's the way it is with us. So how was that for you? What were the dynamics like in your home?
Well, actually, my husband and I, we did all the raising ourselves because his mother was still in Cameroon. So she wasn't in America yet. And my mom, see, we lived in California and my mom lived in Washington State. My mom and dad came and flew to California and stayed with us just for 1 week. So they could meet Grace, the firstborn at that time, to meet Grace and to help a little bit. So yeah, so I know in the African culture that normally, like you said, the mother-in-law or mother would come and spend like 3 months and do like almost act like that it's their baby, and they would do everything while the wife or the new mom would get to just like maybe eat some nice food, relax.
The baby, yeah.
So yeah, I didn't get to experience any of that because my mother-in-law, I wish she could have been there, but she was still in Cameroon. And my mother only came for a little bit to visit, meet the baby, and just help a tiny bit with other kinds of things. Yeah, but my mother-in-law didn't come till way after James, my youngest, had been born already and through some of the small baby stages. So mostly Stans and I did everything ourselves.
Oh, okay. And before you guys got married, did you ever get to visit Cameroon?
I've never been yet.
Oh, you've never been to Cameroon?
Nope. I hope to so bad.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. I've never been.
Oh my God. I would have thought that you've probably lived in Cameroon for like 5 years.
Oh, nope. I've never even been to the continent of Africa.
Are you kidding me?
Nope,
Okay.
never been. My prayer and hope so bad is to go so bad. I have a huge desire to go because I really, really want to see the culture where my husband's from and everything in person, and try the good food that I've been making to actually see it, eat it, and everything, all the markets in person there. I really want to do that badly. And we had actually had plans to go in 2016 or 17, but then I got pregnant with James. we're hoping and praying that maybe things will clear up, of course, with COVID. And also the other situation was where my husband is from Bamenda, and Bamenda area has a lot of war issues and other kinds of safe things that aren't safe for us, I guess, to go as a family, or just me to probably go by myself. So that's why we haven't gone yet.
Oh my God. I mean, from just the way you have embraced the culture, I would have thought that you've lived in Cameroon for at least a year, to be
That's
honest
what
with
people
you.
always say to me. They say,
Goodness
you
me.
seem like you've lived there or you've been there, so you know the culture in person. And I'm like, no. Everything that I've learned about Cameroon and how I love it and I grow to want to know more about it is mainly just everything I've been taught and learned, or taught from my mother-in-law, my husband, and of course my sister-in-laws and brother-in-laws when I've come together with them for parties or get-togethers, and all of our friends around here. So
Wow, interesting. What's your favorite Cameroon food?
well, I like a lot of them, but I don't know if well, it's called porridge plantain, but the specific one I like is from my husband's tribe. He's Meta. So I like nong tari. Nong tari is so, so good. So I have it on my videos. I've made it. And my mother-in-law specifically taught me that one when she was here, like, I don't know, like probably 2 years ago or whatever. She taught it to me. So that one is one of my number one favorites. And I also like, I just like the basics like conchef, jollof rice. I like indole. I like just a lot of them.
Yeah.
There's a lot
I,
to
I,
name from.
I'm so intrigued because you know that people are born with acquired tastes, okay? So how
Mhm.
was it when you first of all tasted the food? And do you remember which one you tasted? And what did you actually feel like?
It was actually when Stans and I were still dating, and that time I had told you that I went to California to visit him for the first time. He fixed for me pepper soup, and he fixed a pepper soup that had cow hoofs in it. So that was my first experience with any sort of animal product besides the meat part. So I'd never had hooves, I've never had intestines or any of the innards and other body parts of the animals. So he fixed me a pepper soup with cow hooves, and I tried it, and he put a lot of pepper, and my palate was not used to pepper. I mean, I
Right.
had pepper, but it wasn't as strong as this.
Mm.
So it was definitely spicy. And I said to him, this is kind of spicy or whatever. And he was like, oh, sorry. And of course saying this is pepper soup. So he was like trying to explain to me that in pepper soup that there's
You
pepper.
have pepper.
So anyways, that was a little bit, I wouldn't say it, but the taste was really good. I liked the taste, but the pepper was a little too much. I couldn't like eat too much of it.
Mhm.
And then also the experience, I wanted to actually pick up the cow hoof and chew on it because I was watching him eat, and of
Yeah.
course how he ate it. So I tried it too. I picked it up and was chewing it, and I said, yeah, this is interesting because it's like gummy or chewy
Gummy, yeah.
bite. And I said to him, you have much tougher teeth than me because I'm having trouble biting the meat off. And
Yeah.
of course he was able to bite some of the gummy flesh or whatever it was off the hoof. And I was like, okay, so that was a little bit of interesting food, I guess, to eat for the first time.
Yeah.
So that was it, I guess. But it wasn't bad. It was just too spicy, and I wasn't used to that kind of meat. He had other meat chunks in there, but I wanted to try the hoof. So
Yeah. So which one don't you like? Which Cameroonian food have you tasted that you do not like?
I'm not actually a fan of achu soup. So
Oh yeah, really?
I mean, I can eat small amounts of it, but it's not
Mhm.
going to be like where I want to eat the whole plate. It's not my favorite dish. I know it's a very popular one too, but it's not my favorite. Now, my husband, of course, loves it like crazy. And actually, James, oh my goodness, he says to me, Mommy, I want achu soup. I want achu soup. So I will make it for him and
Mhm.
for the kids. But usually when we eat that, I don't usually eat a lot of it. I'll eat a little bit of it and eat something else probably. And the other one I'm not kind of a fan of is eru.
Okay.
I like
Interesting.
it. I like eru, but I'm a little picky when it comes to the eru. I prefer it to have like not full palm oil, like half palm oil, half vegetable oil. And I like palm oil, but I kind of say to my husband that I'm a little bit of a palm oil snob now because I love palm oil, but there's certain palm oils I'm not a fan of. If it has a smell or is a certain taste, I don't like it. So I like, I guess you would say, more of palm oils that are a little more purified. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
what you call it, because sometimes if they're a little too thick or the smell or the taste is a little too strong for me. So I like them a little more thinner, I guess you would say. I don't really know how to explain it. So
Yeah.
yeah, but those two dishes are, I would say that those aren't my number one favorites, but I will eat them if they're given to me, but they're not ones I'm gonna want probably a whole lot of.
Achu soup was the first one that probably went viral in the community. We're like,
Yeah, it
who
was
is
that
this
in the
lady?
Aru, I think. Yep.
Who is this lady cooking achu soup? Because personally, first of all, my friend and I always talk about achu soup, and we always think that the person who created or who came up with this meal was definitely a scientist or a chemist, because it requires, some chemical
Yep.
mixtures, and you need to balance, you need to balance it. If you do not balance it right, you're going to get it all wrong. The oil is going to go on one side. You're just going to get like a terrible mixture.
Yeah.
So you need to get it right. It requires skill. So when that video went viral, we're like, who on earth is this lady, cooking our food, which requires so much skill. But I mean, even if you do not like it as much, kudos to you for, cooking it or making it and putting it out there for other people to watch and get inspired. Because
Yeah.
I believe that a lot of people out there have had the interest, me in particular, in cooking, because there are some meals that I really do not fancy making because of the whole traumatic experience cooking it growing up, because it required so much time, so much, energy. And I mean, it was just a whole process because you're
Oh
cooking for
yeah.
very large households. So there are
Mhm.
things that I do not really make in my house because of all of that, experience growing up. So watching your channel has inspired me in so many ways.
I'm happy to hear that because actually that's one of the things that makes me the happiest when I hear comments. Like I always read every single day. I go to check my comments, my messages, everything on all my videos and everywhere on my pages on because I'm on YouTube and Facebook. So I check both. And one of the biggest things I love like crazy is when I get messages from women and even some men that say, thank you so much for your tips and things that you've been teaching me or teaching my wife. And you have been such a huge, valuable like resource for us. Thank you so much. And then also, I also like when a lot of, because there's either some white women or I guess women from other cultures who are married to people from Africa or like Cameroon. So they're so happy when I'm teaching them things so they can make their spouse also happy. So those are the things I'm happy about because I'm able to help because I've been there before and I know how challenging it can be when you want to make your spouse happy or you want to learn to make these things. But yeah, so those are the kind of comments and things that make me happy. So
Right. I
thank
mean,
you.
it is amazing. And one of your tips, which I absolutely love, is putting bebe in the microwave.
Oh yeah.
I really love that, especially for us who are in the diaspora. Those tips, I mean, are very, very handy. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's so good. We often get to see you cooking so effortlessly online, okay? But what we do not see or what we do not know are the challenges that you face in the learning process. Especially things like the achu soup and even arrow that require so much skill. Okay, so which meal challenged you the most?
Well, there's different reasons why certain ones might have been more challenging than others. Like, for example, the akwang, of course, it took a while to get used to knowing how to wrap the cocoa yam in the middle, the
Yeah,
kafava.
yeah.
So it took a while to get used to wrapping that and learning how to even make bobolo was a challenge because of the smell
Mm,
that I wasn't used to the smell. So that also was a little bit of a challenge. And how I just learned and overcame these challenges was, of course, just keep practicing and practicing. And obviously, I tried to take a lot of advice and lessons from my mother-in-law and husband to how to perfect it and to make it better. And So I'm just a good, I guess, student to want to learn it. So that's why I wouldn't say I'm 100% of a master. Like I'm still 100% trying to master proper rolling of I used collard green leaves,
Yeah,
but
the cocoyam leaves.
yeah, the cocoa yam leaves.
Yeah.
We didn't have it, so that's why I used collard greens for the video. But yeah, so I'm still practicing to make it perfectly or whatever. But I think it still turns out good enough because they stay together.
Yeah.
And then one of the other things that was super challenging was puff puff. Holding the dough in your hand the proper way to pinch it out so it comes out the right way. That was a little bit challenging. So
So
yeah.
what was the first turn out of your achu soup? Because achu soup requires a lot of skill. So what was it like, that very first achu soup you made?
Well, it was not as like you said, the oil and stuff kind of separated something a little. So, but over time, of course, with the tweaks and help from my mother-in-law or my husband, just saying, okay, you need to put a certain amount of this in or that in. And then of course, also I have to say what helps a lot with mine is my blender. I have an awesome, awesome blender. I have the Vitamix. So the blender is super powerful. So it brings a lot of action when all the stuff are in there. So I
Yeah.
think it comes out really well, usually with the blender, because I don't see any separation of the oils,
Mm.
and it just comes out with a beautiful yellow color and nice texture. So
Right. I mean, that meal is amazing. But women who are married to other cultures, they probably try to no avail, to do or to convince their spouses to get to like their food. So do you think that what would you say about that? Do you think that the spouses do not love them enough?
I guess I can give you a small little backstory.
Yeah.
Before I married my husband, I actually did a lot of travels. I've been to places all over Southeast Asia. And so my tongue was kind of used to other
Very
cultures, type
diverse.
of foods,
Yeah.
and yeah, diverse type of tongue, I guess, before I married him.
Yeah.
It's now become even more diverse since marrying him, and now eating most of the time Cameroon food in our house more all the time. I kind of just said, no, I think love is beyond food. After I was married 3 years into the marriage, I started getting used to the food more. As the Western person or the person coming into the marriage of the African food, Cameroon food, don't say, no, I'm not going to try that. Because I think that's not good. You should at least be willing to say, yes, I want to try it. Because anything that was ever put in front of me, I would at least try it once. And maybe I would even come back to it another time, because maybe that specific time it tasted a little different than the next time I'm going to try it. So I at least will try it once. And then maybe if I didn't really like it, I wouldn't discount it like, oh no, I'm never going to try that again. I would at least maybe try it again another time. So I would give advice, please at least try the dishes once. Maybe visually or smelling or taste would be like, ooh, I don't know if I'm a little scared of it or whatever. But you should still be open-minded to try it. Because if you love your spouse, you want to also try things from their culture and from their food, because that's important to us. Because he's even tried foods from my culture, and he was a little bit like scared, I guess you would say, in the beginning, and he didn't really want to probably eat it, but he ate it because he knew that it was something I liked. So it goes both ways. So both sides should be willing to try each other's foods from where they come from.
Which makes a lot of sense. And also, there's this thing I struggle with. Okay, I have a friend here. She's Welsh. She's white, of course, and she's always requesting for my recipes. Okay, and I struggle a lot with that, with giving her my recipes, because she would want the actual measurements of
Oh
my
yeah.
recipe, of my ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with us is, especially if you're not like a chef, we do not go by measurements, because your hand would do the job. Your hands would do the job, especially with salting and seasonings and all of those things. So I struggle a lot with that. So when people reach out to you, for recipes and all of that, is it like the same experience with you?
Yeah, they will say to me, now, how much of this do you need to add? How much of that do you need to add? So how I've kind of come up with how to tell them a measurement, I guess you would say, is of just like trial, like all the dishes that are you see me record on the videos, a lot of times I'm adding a measurement of sometimes, and that's only because I want people like you had just said that maybe don't know how to cook these dishes would know maybe how much to add. But if I'm cooking actually just alone without recording, I don't always add measurements. But because now I know, of course. But how I learned to think, I mean, learned of what probably the measurements would be was I would just like trial and error of, let's say, okay, this calls for, I think would be probably 1 tablespoon of this or whatever. So then I would sometimes maybe I wouldn't add enough or added too much or whatever.
Yeah.
So then I would kind of adjust it over time.
Yeah. What's the most ingenious tweak you've made to the recipes?
Probably showing people how to do the cassava, the yam through the juicer,
Oh, wow.
like to make the akwang.
Mm-hmm.
So because I know some people I don't think knew about that, like that you don't have to grate for so long, you just put it through the juicer to make akwang.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't know that.
Well, because when my husband and my mother-in-law had told me that usually the women, they would have to stand there forever grating
And
and grating,
that's one of
grating.
the meals that traumatized me because we have a large household and the meal will only end up getting ready like 5 p.m. You
Mhm,
know, it takes forever to make. So
mhm.
I never cooked that.
Yeah, so now you can. Yes. So
Yeah,
all
so
you have to do is just use the juicer, because in my video, I showed that traditionally you would grate it like this on a grater, but then I kind of put, I guess you say, humor to my video, because I was like, who has time for that now here? Because I'm a mother and my kids are hanging on my legs and I'm like, they're saying, mommy, I want this, I want that, but I want to try to get this meal out. So to make it quicker and easier, I would just use a juicer. You put them through it. You can get like all that you need probably within like a minute, 30 seconds, or even a minute or whatever. So it's a lot quicker and the texture is perfect.
it's amazing.
Well, I just want to make it easier for people because like here in the Western culture, we have we're so busy with things that we just wanted to make it quicker, so we don't have to stand there forever. So that's why I was like, I need to think of quick, easy ways to maybe do some of these so that will help some people out there.
Yeah,
So,
and with the bebe, you know, the putting of the bebe in the microwave, what were you thinking about in that moment? Like, what was going through your mind?
well, because burning it over the fire before, it took sometimes a little longer and it's would smoke or smell up the house. So I was like, and also I would kind of burn some of my utensils or spoons doing that. So I was just like, let me just put it in the microwave and see if it kind of does something similar. So I did, and of course it came out perfect because it charred and toasted it just the way I needed it, and yeah, so and it worked better.
It worked better. And I'm just going to say this for the audience. Let us know which of Tiffany's tips you've been able to implement in your cooking. And wherever you're watching from, let us know also in the comment section where you're watching from and what tips you have applied to your cooking. Okay, so let's move on. I want to ask about mother-in-law and daughter relationship, okay? Because a lot of people, especially in our cultures, think that their mother-in-laws are from like the pit of hell. And then also for other like people from Western cultures who are marrying into African homes, what is your advice to them, you know, on how to be able to manage these kind of relationships?
Well, first of all, I guess I have to say my mother-in-law is super, super awesome. I'm extremely blessed with a wonderful mother-in-law, and we get along all the time. She's an awesome woman. And I think what also contributes to her and I's relationship being so good is because she's a peaceful person. I'm a peaceful person. And we also just have a strong desire to know each other well, and we both have a close relationship with Christ too. So that just helps us to like understand each other and love each other. But now, for example, for someone that maybe doesn't have a good relationship with their mother-in-law, I would just try to say, try to be patient and try to understand maybe where they're coming from in the situations. So they both need to look at themselves and understand and think, what am I putting in this relationship that's making something not go right? If for some reason you can't work it out together, let's say you can't sit down together and have a conversation to solve the issues together, I think sometimes it's okay to bring the husband in. He should be able to come in, hopefully, as like a peacemaker in some way to help you guys come together.
I would like to know, you have a platform which has a huge following. Okay. What do you hope to achieve with this platform, or what would success look like to you? I know you mentioned the fact that people give those comments on how your recipes or your tweaks have helped them in their kitchen or in their cooking. So what would success, apart from that, look like to you? And what do you hope to do with this platform moving forward?
The thing that makes me feel like I'm being successful in this is that I'm able to help people and help relationships, marriages, and even people, let's say as yourself, get to know more about your own food, your own culture, and how you can learn to make it easier for where you live and for your lifestyle. So those are things that make me happy, and I feel like that's how I'm being able to be helpful, and I guess you would say a light out there to help people. But I would like to broaden out and not only do cooking. Like, since I come from an intercultural marriage, we would also like to be able to help people like who have maybe had issues within like intercultural marriage, like give the advice or help that we've been through so we can help others so they can relate to their in-laws or just families in general. So just like advice in those kinds of ways.
So from your interactions with your in-laws and the people in America and wherever, what are the things that you've learned culturally?
I've learned that community and family is very important. Like, one of the things what my husband and I talked about before getting married, he asked me, or maybe one of the questions I asked him, how important is family to him? Because family was very important to me, because my family, my mom, dad, sister, brother, whatever, we're all very close. So I wanted to make sure that he had good relationships with his siblings and his parents or whatever, so family members. So that was important to him and it was important to me. So that was something that that I like about the culture, that they're very family oriented, and yeah.
Right. So who's your favorite Cameroonian musician?
Well, I don't know if they're big stream people, but I really like her name is Maureen Forba. I don't know if you've heard of her.
Maureen Forba.
Yes.
Nice. So if you were to visit Cameroon, which would be the place you're going to go to?
Well, if I could, I would love to see Bamenda, of course, but with situation of war areas going there, I don't know if that's safe for me to visit that part of Cameroon. But I would also like to see Yaoundé. I'd like to see Douala. I like to see the big cities. That would be nice to see. But a place so many of my family members that my in-laws have told me about, I would love to visit Limbe. So
nice. I grew up
like beach. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And I like the beach lifestyle too. So that'd be really nice to see.
Which is your favorite all-time Cameroon food? Like just one.
Oh my. I like so many of them. I would probably just say Nong Curry.
And so if you have watched any Cameroon movie, which is your favorite one?
I've never seen any Cameroon movies.
Okay.
If I've watched any movies from Africa, it would be like Nigerian movie. That's what I've seen, but I've never seen a Cameroon movie.
Okay, big news. One of Cameroon's movie called Fisherman's Diary has been nominated for the Oscars. So that is big news.
Okay. Wow. My husband's like, wow, he didn't even know.
Yeah, that is big news. So that's what Cameroon is actually celebrating in the movie industry at the moment. So it's called Fisherman's Diary. So fingers crossed for them to win in that category. Not only is Fisherman Diary the first Cameroonian movie to be nominated for the Oscars, it has become the first Cameroonian movie to be acquired by the American content giant Netflix.
Well, I'll definitely have to look it up then.
Yeah. What's your favorite Cameroonian parenting quote? You know, like when the kid is probably holding a plate and then they're asking you, where should I put this plate? And they know very well where to put the plate. And in Cameroon, the parent will say, come and put it on my head. You know.
No, I've actually never heard that, but now that you kind of give me an example, I like when my husband has said to me before and other people, he says, don't worry your skin. I'm like, what? Or something like that. Don't worry your skin. And I was like, okay. So I had to ask him, of course, what does that mean? And then he explained to me, of course, like, don't worry about it, or it's okay, whatever. Don't worry your skin. So things like
so
that.
You're taking that literally.
Yes.
So funny. So what can you do a Cameroon accent?
Yeah. I understand Pidgin, but I don't really speak it.
But
so,
can you say a line in Pidgin?
How you day?
How you day? Good. How you day? Okay.
And then I think you would respond, me don't fine, or something. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Me fine. Yes.
I definitely will be teaching you Pidgin then.
Say Miaka.
Miaka.
Yeah, Miaka.
What does that mean?
It means thank you.
Awesome. Wow, we've come to the end of our conversation. Thank you so much for coming to PBB and talking to me today.
Well, thank you so much, Kimberly, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day too. And that's it from us, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Please go ahead and like, subscribe, and share our pages as we continue to bring you inspiring and exclusive content from around the world. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.